Heya folks, and welcome back to Crit Hit Reviews with your host Arlyeon. Today, I'll be talking about Studio Scrawl's A Walk Along the Wall, a boss battle-centric bullet hell style twin-stick shoot-'em-up made with a whole lot of love. Craft. Come find out if the experience is worth braving the veritable mountain of madness promised by its difficulty, or if it would be better off in the vault. So first of all, as a sort of disclaimer, this game's a bit of a special case for us folks at Crit Hit since it was actually made through the collaborative efforts of a few of the individuals whom are a part of the indie developer Discord server we run. Myself and Lovi also served as quality assurance testers for a number of the game's iterations. That's part of how we actually got a hold of the review copy of this title before the game even came out. That said, we'll endeavor to do our utmost to provide what we can only hope is an unbiased review. Which is to say, it's time for us to talk about the controls, and for those who require mouse and keyboard or controllers, have no fear since there's ample support for either method of playing the game, up to and including rebindable keys. Both of them work quite well, though I ended up enjoying the mouse and keyboard controls far more. And honestly, it's a good thing they're so responsive, considering that A Walk Along the Wall is far from a walk in the park, immediately thrusting players into the thick of the action without any time-consuming tutorial. There is totally scribblings on the floor, which you can look at, that'll let you know you're going to die immediately. As mentioned in the intro, Walk is a bullet hell which plays across 5 distinct linear stages, each one immediately pitting the player in a battle against the otherworldly horrors which serve as the game's bosses. The twist, however, is not only does the player need to avoid projectiles and endless wave of minions, but they'll also need to adapt to the boss's various quirks that can have the game feeling almost puzzle-like in the nuance of its combat. So, I hope you're really good at thinking quickly on your feet, since each encounter is also timed. That's right, not only are you at the risk of being obliterated by the opposition, though yes, you have a health bar and it very gradually recovers, but there's a very real chance of the fight timing out, and that's generally not a good thing for the most part. Unless we count the 4th boss, but shh. Still, you start with a fairly handy array of ornaments at your disposal, starting off with a spell that functions like a machine gun, one with a shotgun-esque spread, and a magnum. Whilst I generally enjoyed the magnum, each one has its distinct situations they shine in, and coaxing a player to swap between them for the various bosses. Moreover, as players progress, they're granted an additional pair of abilities, starting off with a small-range teleport with a relatively low cooldown as a dodge, and then a time slow ability. Whilst the latter I used extremely situationally, that dodge ended up becoming a staple of everything I did, including quickly closing the distance towards enemies just so I could kill them faster. Aggressively teleporting over an attack and shotgunning someone in the face is pretty great. And just, man, there were some instances I wanted to kill them faster, as while the grand majority of the game felt fair and well balanced, the 3rd stage has a few nuances to its battle that made it particularly frustrating to me. First and foremost is the fog which dominates the battlefield. Whilst certainly a dramatic and graphically appealing nuance at a glance, it also provides some rather problematic issues in that when I say it dominates the stage, I'm not exaggerating, as you can end up with something like 85 to 90% of the playing field obscured in a misty haze that is more than capable of masking oncoming bullets, where the boss and her doppelgangers are, and your own location, which makes evasion a massive problem. Considering it forms and dissipates based on RNG, it was perhaps the most trialsome aspect of the game for me, especially in tandem with the fact that this particular boss can teleport directly on top of your location to deal a large amount of contact damage. Now, whilst A Walk Along the Wall is a relatively compact game, especially if you don't proceed to die at the same boss fight for an hour and a half, it does provide a handy-dandy checkpoint system, saving your progress between each boss battle so you don't need to restart from scratch like an arcade game from hell. That said, it doesn't allow you to manually save or resume the game from a particular chapter if you enjoy a specific boss battle or want to hear its theme while sacrificing yourself to its dark appetites. Oh, and if you're a masochist, there are higher difficulty options available for the sheer sake of challenge, if you have a fondness for being smeared in the paste. They're just there as something you can dabble into since they don't unlock anything. Yet. Hopefully ever. Storyline-wise, the game isn't the heaviest thing to digest, as the whole of what you're told is summed up in a few brief images and the cryptic passages that both start the game off and which rest interspersed between each combat encounter. The very basic TLDR is, your wife is dead and you've engaged in a dread ritual that basically kicks off the apocalypse in order to resurrect her. Not the best of plans, but I suppose when you've lost everything, any port in a storm starts to look appealing. Even the ones filled with tentacles.
Tentacles.
You can go away now. And eldritch abominations. Graphically, the game is a mesh of styles, with enemy and monster designs having a very distinct, almost pencil-drawn quality to them. On the other hand, bullet effects are not as detailed, instead bearing a far more simplistic quality to them. That said, the UI is gorgeous in its presentation and has a certain elegance to it that makes it both appealing and easy to read, with its only fundamental flaw coming in the fact that I found the bottom left segment of it could end up obscuring you as you moved. Furthermore, for those craving a bit more variety in the actual regions, you're going to be greeted by the same black void and ominous red summoning circle which serves as the various stages' battlefields. Though both Stage 3 and Stage 5 provide their own nuances to it, with my preferred one of the two being the final stage by far. Overall, however, it's got an interesting and distinct style, though it could use further refining. Now, when it comes to this game's audio, goddamn, I will happily sing its praises, with a special ode reserved for its composer, Sean Fica. Each boss has a unique anthem that is wonderfully tailored to its battle, meshing well with the timed aspect of the game to provide a just perfectly paced symphony. Even the third stage, which I was least fond of, was made immensely more enjoyable due to its soundtrack. Though, it also managed to instill a fair amount of dread into me each time it played, since at a certain point in time where a chime went off was generally where I found myself buried in a tide of projectiles and everything got worse. Now, in regards to my final thoughts on A Walk Along the Wall, the game ended up making me feel a wide range of things. Gameplay-wise, I found it fun and fairly accessible as an experience since I could just pick it up and play, and that's despite the fact that I'm fairly miserable at bullet hells. I mean, yes, I died enough times that I probably could have run a burger chain selling the processed meat of my own corpses, but I was still able to clear the game in 5 hours. Honestly, the largest issue I had was just the third stage and its fog, and that's majoritarily based on my own personal inclinations, and the fact that I felt that that was fucking unfair. Yet, by sheer virtue of the solidness of the levels which both preceded and followed that stage, including the absolutely intense final boss and the gloriousness of Walk's epic soundtrack, I didn't find myself left with a bad taste in my mouth. Whilst I wouldn't say that's a peerless experience and it might be daunting for some, I would actually suggest giving the game a whirl, especially if you're a fan of bullet hells or you want a taste of the music during the boss fight. TLDR, I consider A Walk Along the Wall a hit. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, we here at Crit Hit would love to hear from you in the comments, and if you'd like to see more of this, like, subscribe, and share this with people you think might be interested. And if you think you'd enjoy a community devoted to indie gaming, click the link to our Discord server to meet other gamers.